Hi Claire.
Hi.
So you're a primary one teacher.
Yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do is just go over the tracking that you have with today. What I want you to do is just tell me the facts. The facts as it is just now. So what I want you to focus on for me are the children that are currently on track.
Yes.
Okay. So
At the moment in the primary one class there are 11 children
11.
on track,
Okay.
and there are 3 ahead of track.
And 3 ahead of track. Okay. So what we're going to do first of all, so you've got 21 in your class, am I right? Yeah,
Yes.
21 in your class. Okay, so we've got 11 on track and 3 ahead of track. So let's focus on the children that are actually on track. Well, I think what we need to do is we will look at the benchmarks and we'll see, okay, how do you know they're on track, okay?
Yes.
But before that, we'll just establish the facts that we have here. Now, from those 11 children, we're going to look at gender.
Yes.
Okay, so what's the makeup of gender? Because I know your class is a bit of an anomaly.
Yes, it is. Yes.
Quite heavy, boy heavy.
Boys, it
Okay,
is, yes.
so from that, let's see how many of those children that are on track are boys.
There are 17 boys and we've got 4 girls.
Okay,
in
so
the
there's,
class.
within the class there's 17 boys, 4 girls. From that, am I right in saying there's 11 boys? 11 of those boys are on track.
Yes.
Yep. So 11 of our boys are on track, and out of the 4 girls, there are three on track. Okay, so
Yes.
what's actually happening in your class, Claire, is bucking the trend of the school. Okay, because in the school, the girls are outperforming the boys. Okay, so it's good for us to be aware of that, because to keep those boys on track, we need to think about what it is that we're doing. Also for those girls too, to make sure that they are. Now within that, we're aware that SIMD is a barrier to our children's learning, and we also need to consider that because majority of boys here on track, but let's look and see who are living in that SIMD bracket, because again, that's something we need to consider.
Yes, and within the SIMD, the majority of children within that class
Okay.
are living within one
Right,
two.
okay, so I can see there, so out of those 14 children in total, we've got 12 living in SIMD. So I would say for the purpose of this, we're going to say that SIMD is a consideration when we look at these children to keep them on track, but equally those that are ahead is to give them all opportunities to be ahead of track. But we need to be mindful of gender, and we need to be mindful of that SIMD in our planning and the learning opportunities that we're going to give those children. Now, also a consideration from those children on track, the EAL, any of your children that is English as additional language?
Yes, there are 4 children in the class.
4?
Yes.
Okay,
And
so
we've got 1 child here who is EAL, who's not yet on track.
okay, not yet on track. So the child that's not on track, Benzin will put aside at the moment. So those that are on track we have. Now in terms of their language, where are they? Developing competency,
Yes,
would you say?
developing
So
competency and understanding.
okay, so their understanding is there,
Yes.
and okay, but again, within that, I know that there are those EAL children I can see here from your recording that they also are male, and they're also living in SIMD 1 and 2. So when you're planning your learning experiences, there's 3 barriers potentially to them remaining on track, and in fact challenge was there too. So I'd be asking you, Claire, in your planning, you demonstrate that to me in your planning, and the learning experiences that you're offering those children, that you're mindful of that to make sure that they keep progressing in the rate that they do. Okay, ASN, any children that are ASN?
Yes, there are. There's been children who at the start of when they come into primary 1 are identified with the baseline assessments.
Okay.
And then we continue to monitor them with assessments throughout primary 1 to
Okay, so
support them.
lots of good data there around that. Okay, this is for their numeracy. Okay, again, those children that are on track, if they've ASN, that your learning opportunities are differentiated and supporting them so that they remain on track. Now, the last thing, again, just when we're at the fact part of it all, is there any child in your class, or children in your class, that you're worried about their attendance because that potentially is something we need to consider.
Yes, there are 2 children within the class who
Okay,
I would
yep.
these
Yeah,
years
okay,
here that I would
yeah,
have concerns about their attendance,
Okay.
and what we try to do is involve their families to come into the school and to support the children
Mhm.
with our support for learning workers as well.
Mhm.
If we can allocate some
Okay.
times in their timetable for maybe aspects they need a bit more work on in class
Yeah.
that they've missed.
Okay,
they take-
okay, yeah, because presumably when you're working with the parents, you know, primary one, it's not that child's fault, so we need to look for opportunities to make sure that they remain on track. Because at this stage, it's a very good start for them, and working with the families is how we can do that. So that's great. So that we've got all of the facts here, okay? Now I need to know a wee bit more. Let's look at the story of these children that are on track. So we've got our 11 boys and our 3 girls. I'll be asking you now, Claire, to look at your benchmarks, and I'm asking you to tell me, how do you know they're on track? How do you know? Now, I know in the school there's a range of assessments going on, and you've got all of that there. However, all of that informs our professional judgment based on the benchmarks. That's our national criteria that we have. So, if we can just, you show me, we'll just go through some of these and just show me the ones that you're confident that these children are on track, that have undertaken.
Yes, even if we look here at the following numbers going
Okay.
forward, backwards in a sequence from 0 to 30,
Okay.
within the class applying various activities, particularly stations where the children can work
Okay.
through, and this seems to really engage all children, but with a particular focus with this class having a bigger percentage of boys. They're looking for like good physical activities to be active and engage in, and some they work alongside a partner doing, and then other ones individual activities.
So for those children, we need to look at those learning opportunities, how you can incorporate challenge into that. Okay, how can you look to see that they're overtaking other benchmarks? Because I know there's a number here that we've gone through. So you're happy with your assessments. I can see all of your assessments there that you have, and you have linked these to the benchmarks to give you that professional judgment that they are on track. Okay. Now I want to know where your next steps are. What is it you're going to be working on next with them to attain early level by the end of primary 1?
I'm going to move on to using some things here
So you've got
about
that in your planning.
discussing language, with looking at numbers in between, numbers before and after, and moving on to children being able to estimate quantities up to 20, and for children who are ahead of track. There's one boy here who's on a first level planner, so he's been extended further within his class. Actually, when we assessed him when he came to school with a mock assessment, he was achieving well beyond his level.
Okay, so having quite clear in the areas that are still to be covered, clear in terms of the benchmark, you've got that well planned there. What I'm going to ask you now is, we've got 3 children that are ahead of track. You already said that he's working on a first level planner, so Peter's getting opportunities to experience first level learning experiences.
Yes.
Who else can be given those experiences as well within that? Because that's quite a significant number of children that are on track. That's 11.
Yes.
Within that, they're not all the same. So what I would want to know is, from the benchmarks, where are they in their learning, and look from those 11 children, those children that should be attaining ahead of the national expectation, and what opportunities will you give them to perhaps join this cohort of 3 that we have that are ahead. That's about challenge.
Yes. Speaking with the head teacher, Mr. Nicholas, I'm looking to undertake a master class in that within infant classes. So some of these children.
Right. So which one? So from that group there, I would be looking to see who.
These 2 children here are part of it. This boy here who's already
so
ahead.
We've got Finlay and we've got
Kenny.
Okay, we've got Kenny. But from these other children here, who in your assessments should be and could be pushed in terms of challenge to attain earlier than we were expecting?
There's possibly maybe these 2 boys here. It could be structure.
Okay, let's enable it. Okay, yeah, okay. And what I would then ask you to do, Claire, is you need to reflect that in your planning. You need to show me that you've taken this in, that you've taken it in. What I would be looking for you to plan for would be opportunities for application. Okay, so skills that they've undertaken, and you have absolutely shown me within the benchmarks that these children have undertaken all of these outcomes here. But again, the ones that they haven't, give them opportunities to show you, and again to apply it in different contexts. I'd be expecting to see that in your planning for those children particularly that you've just mentioned. Also, the other children that are on track would still be looking to see that you're taking into account some of the barriers that we've talked about just now, that there's opportunities in the way you're describing the math setup, and I know you're using all of the Glasgow Count strategies and things like that again, but again I want to see reflected in your planning that you are challenging those children and continually giving them opportunities to apply in different contexts, or giving them situations that will require them to demonstrate skills or to be able to talk about their learning and so on, and that will all come from your planning for those children. So in terms of that, our girls, just be mindful again of those within the those 3 girls that we have. Let's see. Okay, so SIMD not a barrier. Other girl, no. Yep, SIMD and SIMD. So again, but again, we know the girls are on track, and again, it's about making sure that you're mindful of this SIMD with those girls as well.
Yes.
Because we spoke about the boys, but equally speak about the girls. And again, we know that the girls are outperforming the boys as a school. So again, we want to make sure that they're encouraged and keep progressing there as well. So we are aware that your planning needs to reflect that you're giving them opportunities for challenge, but one of the best ways to do that is through considering wider achievement. So within your class, across your school, what opportunities, Claire, are you giving the children to take part in wider achievement so that they can apply some of their numeracy skills that I know that they've undertaken?
Yes, well, the children within the class, we make very good use of our inspired learning space in Macy's Corner, and we set up a variety of activities in there that sometimes link with their topic or literacy or numeracy aspects, and they're able to take the skills that they're learning from maths into those areas. We make very good use of the iPads within the school as well to develop and extending some of the aspects of maths.
Okay.
With the B-bots in the classroom as well, and linking that up with the numeracy topics.
Great.
Also at assemblies, the children have got the opportunity to present and share work with their peers that they've been proud of from their class. We also have pupils of the month as well, where it's not always for aspects of work that are recognised, but for trying harder, good friendships, and all of the other things that we're encouraging in the school.
That's great. Okay, again, you need to capture that. So you need to think about how you're going to capture that wider achievement. So that's your kind of qualitative data. I've got lots of quantitative data here. That's more qualitative, so think about how you could capture that. Maybe it's pupil voice or learning conversations as well. So I would be expecting to see some way that you've been able to capture that, and we can measure it and we can see what the impact's been and has it had that impact on their learning and numeracy. So we've got all the facts there, happy with all of the assessments that you have. You've told me the story of the class in terms of who they are. The action now, Claire, is what I'll be expecting to see in your planning. But to summarise, we have our 3 children that are on track, but from that cohort of 11 that you've said, 14 that you've said, you've identified 3 more children that you believe could be pushed and could be then deemed to be ahead, and that would be something that you'll take, that you took on, and that you will look when we're looking at our SNSA. We're not going to do our SNSA. Is it that they're going to be presented earlier so that they can then start to undertake first level experiences, because they'll be able to cope with that and to be able to achieve with that. So that's our points of action there. Very happy with your action here for those children that are on track. In terms of our benchmarks, you've linked it up there with your planning, or in 3D shapes and so on. 0 to 13 language before and after, absolutely, absolutely. But again, what I'd be looking for you to do, to keep doing what you're doing in your classroom with your Glasgow Council and your groups and so on, your small workshops, but that I would be looking to see in every one of those learning opportunities that challenge has been planned for at the planning stage, the application has been planned for at the planning stage, and that you've captured that with your assessment of those individual activities, and that would then be how you are ensuring that they remain on track and are challenged. Is that happy with
Yes,
that?
that sounds good.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you.